George update.
Yeah, so I know he's on the
Oh,
computer.
all right.
Yeah.
See,
Oh.
maybe he'll log in remotely. Did he say he was somewhere cool that we could? Okay, so it is recording, ready to go.
Okay, all right, calling the Economic Development Commission meeting, June 5th to order. It's 5:31, roll call, Robert Boris, Commissioner.
Jay Dunnigan, Commissioner.
Bill Keith, Commissioner.
Alex Hastings, Commissioner.
Okay, do we have anybody online yet?
No,
Okay, great. We'll go into, so we have some guests here, so we're gonna just juggle around the agenda. We'll just approve the minutes from last time. I'm gonna abstain since I wasn't here, but,
A motion to approve less.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay, great. Welcome. We're very grateful for your work for the town and love to hear a little more about what's going on.
Absolutely.
Very grateful. Thank you.
My name is Jeff Davis, and I'm joined by my colleague, Krista Morvick. Here to help us take notes, record our conversation today. So as you may know, the Horsley Witten Group is providing a number of services to the town at the moment. And the reason we're here tonight is an effort to try to strengthen community connections between Office of Planning Development Services and public, as well as the boards commissions that they help staff. So we have been interviewing a number of community groups throughout the town to get a better sense of what their needs are, how the town can better reach out to them, engage with them, how to make it easier to understand how town government works. You know, this is a very complex geography with different jurisdictions, and really make it easier for people to understand how their voice can be heard, how they can make a difference. And so we thought it would be helpful, now that we've spoken with all these community groups, to talk to some of the boards and commissions and get a sense from you more about how you interact with the public today, how you learn about what people are feeling or wanting in the community, and how we can do a better job of communicating that back and forth. So we just have a series of questions. May not get through all of them necessarily, but want to just start a conversation tonight. We are having similar conversations with PZC and the Conservation Commission, and we hope end of summer, September, hopefully we can find a date where we can have another one of those tri-commission meetings, bring you all back together and talk not only more about this and what we all discussed individually, but continue our work on the plan of conservation development and other efforts in the town. So with that, I wanted to open with a really basic question, which is, why have all of you decided to spend your time, your civic energy in this way on this commission? And Alex, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm kind of a transplant from New York. I moved here, 6 months before the pandemic started.
Oh, okay.
And I worked at EB for 4.5 years and now I work for Eversource. But, you know, I spoke to my friend about like how I can get better engaged in the community and things like that. And he actually got recommended from, he lives in Rocky Hill, but he actually got recommended from one of his colleagues that like you should try to look at like town boards and stuff like that, things that like match your experience. So I just happened to look and there was a couple openings. So I decided that my current role as a senior engineer in economic and strategy at Eversource kind of fit the EDC. And then it also gave me kind of a lens of like how small businesses interact with the community and what their challenges are.
Great. So you had an interest in using your skills in that way, and you had a friend who knew how to connect you with the opportunity.
Yeah.
Great. Bill.
Sure. I'm a retiree. My wife wanted to retire in Mystic, so we chose Mystic. I'm a former business professor and the dean of a business school. And when we got here, a friend of ours, he was on the RTM, and I was asked to run for the RTM. So I did that, and then while I was on the RTM, I thought that this might for me in my interest in terms of economic development. For many, many years, I taught a lot of retailing and, how much demand is in an area, modeling consumer demand in an area, things like that.
Okay.
So it's interesting to me from an economic development perspective. And so I talked to the town manager and I switched over from the RTM to.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Great. Jake.
Bob asked.
I recruit talent,
my interest in economic development is about personal autonomy, and I really think that people who are engaged in the work that they want to do better work and live better lives, and the best way to do that is to be involved in your own business or in a tight knit business that you believe in.
Cool. So how did you hear about the opportunity to?
Oh no, literally, Bob asked.
Oh, literally.
really recruit good people. I was engaged in community service in other areas, and I said, we need your energy here, and he took me up on it. So
Fantastic.
appreciate it.
Those networks, that's
Yeah.
oftentimes how you do it.
Yeah. So myself, okay, so yeah, economic development sort of drives the health of a community. Otherwise, the tax base is, property taxes. So it's really important for the services that we want for a balanced community, for us to have a successful business community. So up here, my parents started a company when I was a young man, so I know the community very well. I'm very proud of my community, and I thought I had something to offer with my education and experience. And like I said, having a healthy business community is really important to balance out the tax revenues for all the great things we want to do. And just to tip my hand a little bit to some of the questions we're going to ask, probably get to, there's been a great effort for open space in this community, which makes it incredibly livable and fantastic. There needs to also be a balance of like a healthy housing development and healthy small business community. And obviously we have some large businesses and things like that. We really need sustainability is about that economic exchange. So I think it's a really great opportunity for us to engage community members and make them understand, that sustainability is also about economics. We want to have great resources here. Therefore, we need to have successful businesses. We need the businesses to thrive and to pay taxes so we can have great schools and all the good stuff. So anyway, my educational background is in economics. So,
Okay.
I sort of geek out on that whole, data and how we could do that better. So I jumped in, and I had also George, a lot of the former, George is still on the EDC, a lot of the old guard that was involved with this sort of dragged me in
Okay.
and sort of helped me along the way and get involved. So that's how I got up here.
And so, when you come here tonight, you have your conversations. Obviously, you're all bringing your own expertise to the table. You're also bringing your networks to the table. So how do you go about getting your own information personally about what's going on in the town, what the needs of the town are, what people have been wanting? Just again, personally, where do you get that information?
I mean, like we explicitly are outreach is one of our, we talk about it every time, and Clayton has been good enough to start assigning us because we're derelict in getting out there. But the sort of point of this commission is that we go out and we talk to people. So Bill's done a better job than anyone and needs to be commended for it. But
Retired.
Yeah, you go out and you ask. I mean, that's all you can do. There's only one way to communicate. That's what we're trying to do. So, we ask.
So explain that process to me a bit more. So like, Bill, when you're going out to the public, and you're like, what does that look like? How do you make those connections?
I'm not from here. I was at Connecticut University for 11 years.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know this area all that well. And so I don't have any connections with the business community. we've been assigned places to stop by, talk with them, get a manager, the owner happens to be there. And we have a postcard that we give them that gives them a little bit of information. You know, small and medium-sized businesses, really, you know, they're looking to pay the bills and looking for revenue. And
Yeah, of course.
everything else is secondary to that, right?
Yep.
So, but you know, reaching out, they seem appreciative when that we come and talk to them. It's usually a brief conversation, but they seem to appreciate it. And I think that we want to, I don't know if we're there yet, but we want to create an expectation that there's going to be more. That we'll have an event, that we'll do other things to make them feel connected. And we also mentioned, you know, the fact that the professional staff often hear about grants. There may be state grants, there may be some local grants. Always a resource to check with them. So that's sort of the nature of the conversation. But it's fairly brief.
Sure.
And, we got about nine different businesses or something that, I was sad to see that the shoe business going has been here for 35 years and they're leaving.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
The one that sells, Red
Red Wing?
Wing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, I don't know the community that well, but as we know, small business has changed. It's, you know, a huge percentage now, either corporate chains or franchises or things like that. And that's a kind of a different kind of economic conversation because, you know, they have their own planning and their own, they have their own models. So it's different than, you know.
Yeah, someone who's making all those decisions locally.
Yeah, exactly. I went to the bakehouse.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure the owner.
Yeah.
Right there.
Bacon stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So for me, in addition to what's been mentioned here, I'm also, the chambers for me are Chamber of Commerce, especially, so I'm chairman of the Mystic Chamber of Commerce Foundation. So a lot of those events, we've discussed here as well, Groton, there's some areas of Groton city and town that are underserved with chamber functions. So we've been sort of trying to figure out, it's not really our domain, but how we can accentuate that. So I think part of it is, you know, engaging with business owners at those events and also letting them know to join the Eastern Chamber of Commerce, the Mystic Chamber of Commerce as well. One of the problems of business owners, there's, like you touched upon, they're out trying to make money and they're trying to survive and payroll.
Yeah.
Like they don't really need one more organization on their side. So we try to figure out how to capture, you know, concerns or legislative. We had an issue with outdoor extension of the time for,
Oh, bring your own wines.
yeah,
Right.
BYOB. So a lot of times the council will refer questions to us that comes from owners and stuff like that, but
Okay.
we're very open. I think I speak for all of us for if you have better recommendations to do it. So, you know, you know, it's a hodgepodge of interactions, but
And in your interactions, when you're giving people, you say you have like flyers that you give them, what sort of information are you leaving with them? Do they know who to contact for certain issues? Like they may not have an issue today, but is your interaction teaching people where they can go if they have issues or questions in the future?
It's a postcard. It has contact information. What I do is I just staple my business card right to the postcard. And just, then they have both. And I just encourage them. It's also got, though I haven't never done it, it's got a, what do you call it? QR. So
Yeah.
that they can, you know, get some information from that. You know, I think it's hit and miss how focused they are on what you're saying.
Of course.
But I do think they appreciate it. And I don't think there's any easy substitute for it. You just need to go out there and, you know, they like to see a face and.
Yep. And the more often they see you, the more they're going to trust you. Oh yeah, you're that guy.
Right.
Right. Are there aspects of the business community, certain types of businesses, or communities within the town you're having particular difficulty connecting with?
Well, we can't get to businesses that don't have storefronts, basically.
Oh,
right?
sure.
But they're huge drivers, right? So, if there's no retail way to get in, it's tough to start a conversation with
Yeah,
somebody who's just in an office. And,
Right.
like that to me, the ones that we've been assigned, they're pizza.
I'm sorry, when you say assigned, who's making these assignments?
Well, Clayton's given us some suggestions.
Okay,
And we asked him to because we were not doing it.
got it.
We
Um,
broke down like a little
yeah.
database, so each month everybody has,
Okay.
and they can put notes of like, best time to contact somebody.
Yeah, and it's only 3 and we're still not getting there, but we're doing better.
Right.
We're doing a lot better than we were,
Yeah.
and that's important, but the kind of things that can go on that list, and I think what Clayton's doing is basically looking at a map. Because most of the groupings are physical, like strip malls or whatever, that you can go in and say hi, but that's not what the economic situation is. It's not, we're not a series of strip malls, right? We're a whole town that's got a lot more going on. So anything beyond that, we're sort of blocked from, or so.
It's just that, I think the challenge is getting the attention of the decision makers.
Sure.
There's a whole, going to that history of the revival of Pittsburgh. It's based on the fact that they structured it so only decision makers were invited to some events. And it took a while, but it did turn Pittsburgh around, but it is hard to get their attention. It's hard to get their time. Social events help, but
Economic development isn't necessarily a sexy moniker for the younger generation, right? They'd rather be involved with the Conservation Commission and other things like that, and that is very worthy work, but it's that like gets back to the point I made before. It's helping the community understand that it's all about balance, and I think that's where Clayton really coming on board this past year is really helping to he was over at Parks and Rec.
Right.
And he's got a great energy and focus on that. And it's about kind of inspiring people to get engaged in,
So let's shift focus a little bit. We talked about how you engage with business owners. Let's talk a little bit more about how you engage with the general public and try to tell some of the stories that you were discussing earlier. What are some of the ways that you're reaching out to non-business owners?
So if I tell a non-business owner that I'm on the Economic Development Commission, almost always the first thing, granted, it doesn't happen a lot because like I'm not out there, I'm happily married, right? Like I'm not trying to flaunt anything, but almost the very first thing they always ask is what's going on with X, and it's some construction project.
Sure.
Or something in town, and
Or what is it?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Why is there?
No, but yeah.
Right, and
we have another car wash.
yeah, right. Sometimes a little bit of a cutting joke, but also they're curious, right? They want to know what's going on. And I always look foolish because I'm like, I don't have any idea.
Sure.
Not, sometimes I do, but sort of rarely.
Well, that's a good question. That's another thing. Like, even if you all aren't working on that, there's a way to give you the tools you need to connect people to town staff can answer.
Well, I have an interesting take on this. So usually when I speak to non-business owners about economic development, more than 50% of the time, people will tell me, I don't want more economic development. There's too much traffic.
Sure.
And so I've sort of started to relay that to the Anthony comes down here a lot for, the state marketing director.
Oh, okay.
And also Dan O'Keefe is our economic development person up in Hartford. So I've been a little annoying with them, and I've tried to explain to them, in order for us to do our job, economic development, people, especially with Mystic being such a tourist hub, it would be really helpful if they shared a portion of existing sales tax revenue with the community, so they felt like a stakeholder in the development. Then you can say, well, we're promoting this, and look, this built a playground, or this is paying for schools, right now, you know, especially on the Mystic side, people are like, yeah, it's, I want more summer people here. You know what I mean? It's very hard to bridge that gap. Now, of course, you can imagine that kind of goes over like a fart in church to the guys up in Hartford because they don't want to reassign sales tax revenue. I'm not talking about new sales tax. I'm talking about existing sales tax revenue generated in our community.
Yeah.
Other states do it.
Yeah.
And they don't want to do it.
Okay.
So that's hard for us, right? Because, you know,
What's the advantage?
I mean, that's a
Yeah.
big deal. How do you make the community feel like a stakeholder in open space? It's very obvious, right? If we're
Yeah.
saving conservation, like you can walk in the park.
Yeah.
How is economic development beneficial to a resident? That's the golden, you know, unless you get tax revenue from, you know, shared locally to benefit, I don't know how you bridge that. And
Of
that's,
In talking to a lot of people in the community, there are a lot of desires related to economic development, a lot of desires related to businesses that aren't currently here or more elevated restaurants and retail opportunities. And so I think there's definitely a contingent in the community that wants to see those things. And you know, maybe it's
More elevated. We got two James Beard Award winners, like two
Yeah.
blocks
Well, yeah, I
down the
missed it.
street.
Yeah.
Like-
yeah.
elsewhere. You know, one of the most common themes is like, you know, along Route 1 or Route 12, that just the general atmosphere of the commercial corridors is,
Yeah.
Well, everyone wants economic development, just not in that neighborhood. It's in the neighborhood over there, right?
Yes.
And that's hard, you
absolutely.
know, and everybody has, I mean, they're not wrong. Like you have, keep SB Butler green signs have gone up since the minute SB Butler was being discussed to put something there. And I fully understand that the local community needs to get engaged and they want to make sure they're involved in what's going to go there, but they probably want another park,
Yep.
you know? And yeah, so we get caught up in these discussions and you get quickly drug into construction and not necessarily how to help the dry cleaner or the small business owner and stuff like that. So it's, you know, it's hard for a volunteer board to
Absolutely.
figure out, but we have great staff resources and things like that, but it's definitely a mishmash.
And one thing that OPDS staff have been really good about in the last couple of years is hosting these community conversations. Have you ever considered maybe there be one on economic development? Maybe it's not even economic development, something more specific than that, something that might get people's attention and an opportunity to talk about these things.
I'll just say real quick, and I don't want to monopolize the time, but community conversations, particularly about housing, has been extremely helpful in educating. Because the public,
Many of us have been there.
Great.
To several of those meetings as well.
Yeah. and because the public then understood, well, why do we need more housing? A lot of it has to do with demographically, how we live. We live differently, like we don't have the nuclear family. And that was very helpful in leading the conversations with the, you know, it's not just electric boats growth. So that's my 2 cents on that. But I think, yeah, the town does a fantastic job on it.
Yeah, I agree. Some of the best proactive community engagement that I've seen anywhere. But still, it's a struggle to get people out. So what sort of, if you were able to, like, say we gave you a budget all of a sudden where you could do whatever you wanted to have better outreach with the community and have conversations, like what would be some of the topics that you would want to make sure the community was better educated on?
Who do you think our audience is?
Well,
Who do you think we serve?
who do I think you serve?
Yeah.
I think, well, it's two-pronged. You're serving the public at large and you're serving the business community,
Right.
business owners.
So, but in terms of outreach, do you think that it's most effective for us to, as the Economic Development Commission, to be attempting to reach the general public at large?
I think your core mission probably remains outreach to business owners. I think given the struggles that you just brought up, there would be, you could add a lot of value to conversations with the general public. And I understand, you know, you're all volunteers and spread thin as it is and struggling to meet your outreach goals for the business community. So, certainly we're taking capacity under consideration. So again, that's why I'm sort of like, wave your magic wand. If time and money were no object, what role could you play with the general public?
Well, I think mostly it's an information role for the general public, letting them know, I sometimes the Groton patch tells me how many new businesses opened up.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that information comes from.
Yeah.
Town clerk, yeah,
What's it?
town clerk.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's pushed out or they come ask for it?
Well, it gets registered, so you could do it. They probably have an API that's just
Right, but we don't proactively have information flow out.
not from us, no.
I think something like that, but in general, businesses follow what demand is.
Yeah.
So, in general, I think that the issue would be more the health of the business, their concerns. You want them succeeding, you want them, you want to meet their concerns if you do the work. Because as long as they can see there's demand, some business is gonna come in, gotta get that money right.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, if you're a business owner, especially a small business, right, your main concern is income, right? Because you're either supporting yourself or you're supporting like your employees. You have to pay rent on the store. You have to basically give them an opportunity to get money. Like, you have to be almost like a revenue source, and we have a lot of like grants and funding opportunities to say like, look, this is better for the community wholesale, right? But you would get the money to be able to do possibly necessary things they would need to do the business that they wouldn't be able to do in the first place. And a lot of business owners don't know that those are available. And it's not because like lack of trying, it's just that they don't have time. Like, a lot of them have families, a lot of them have other priorities outside of the business, and they usually don't work a normal 9 to 5, right? So they're not working 8 hours and then just going home, clocking out, not thinking about it. They're always on the clock. So I think it's like unlimited budget. If you had like contact information for every single business owner, is like you send out like weekly or monthly emails of just like, you can categorize every business and say like, all right, these are the funding opportunities that probably most apply to you, and just give you some things. Here's the application process, and think about it. You basically take away the steps that are required for them, which is part of our job, right? To reach out, is that we're kind of removing the barrier of like, where do I go to find information? How do I apply for the information? They can just contact us and say like, oh, we'll go get the information, just give it to you, so you don't have to worry about it. So.
That's a really good point. I mean, right now, you're working on building relationships, letting people know that you're a resource, but if you take that next step and say, we've heard from you, we know what your needs are, and we're going to proactively contact you with these opportunities as opposed to having them contact you when they need something.
And can we help them in some way? One of the things that at the Bakehouse Bakery, I don't know, if they did that because so many people in my generation did serve in the military, but they asked if I'm a veteran. Well, that gets you 10% off.
Yep.
Every Monday you get $4 off a sandwich. Now, is there a list of all the businesses in the Groton area that offer a veterans or military discount?
Probably not.
Right? So.
No, if that exists.
No, I was saying it'd be something we'd love to have if it wasn't.
Because they're out there, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I was just ordering lunch, right? And so, and I noticed when I went into Chester's, I was near the lunch hour, and there quite a bit of military.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Lunch hour.
Always.
So, I don't know if there are, how do we help communicate out to that part of the public that there are retailers out there, service providers out there that are particularly interested in serving.
Like, in theory, you could work with a sub base or even with EB or something. Like, I know like when I worked at EB, like almost everyone, like they took the hour off for lunch. A lot of them, like
Okay.
when they went to like local businesses or something to go
Yeah.
to food, or they went to the food truck that would stop by over front. But if you just like gave them a list and just see, I'm sure EB would be like, oh yeah, we'll publish it. Like here's where you can go to get like discounted meals if you're a veteran or something. Like, I'm sure they would do that.
Oh, sure.
A lot of veterans work.
Yeah.
One other thought real quick, and I'm a mentor to a 8th grader at the middle school,
Mm.
and he went to his grandma was a retired teacher, and she told him about a job fair in New London for his age group.
Oh, really?
And so he had 2 interviews. He was very excited about that. And he's hoping to get a job this summer at the aquarium.
Oh, no kidding.
And I
That's
thought,
awesome.
I wonder,
That's awesome. He's in 8th grade. How
Yeah.
old is he?
so he's,
You're close. You're close.
Not even think we're able to work.
yeah, yeah.
Volunteer.
So I did ask him if his friends were also looking for jobs. He said no. But I thought, oh, you had to go to New London for that. Or, there's nothing like that here. That where local
Yeah,
businesses.
I did tooth and nail. I'm not having a child labor job fair for. All right.
It's not like a very good idea. No labor comes in, puts the
I'm
table up.
sure that the aquarium and other places are relevant in some art. When they hire these kids, I don't think it's quite sweatshop conditions.
I worked at a Christmas tree farm when I was.
Yeah, I think this is perfectly.
I worked with my dad when I was 12, so there were no child labor.
I don't know.
Well, here still working instead of home with our families.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I know. Yeah, it's just.
But I will, I'll throw the question back at you. What do you think your role as a committee should be in engaging the public at large as opposed to, I mean, that's.
Well, yeah, let me take that and just shift it a little bit. I think one of the other things I think we can add a lot of value is community boards and commissions, right? It would be very effective if we have great relationships, and I'll go to the Conservation Commission again, because they are very well organized and people are active and supportive and they show up when there's issues on the table. If we, as a EDC, and a business owner wanted to expand somewhere and it was in line with the POCD. And we could say to the Conservation Commission, hey, it's going to create jobs. It's in this side. Can you get some of your people to show up at a town meeting and just give a 2-second pitch? It's not just the EDC guys. It's, I mean,
That's great.
that kind of being able to have that kind of power is going to be very helpful for business owners. It would energize them because right now, I think a lot of times they don't necessarily feel like, it's up to them to make it work.
Yeah.
Right. And this is why I get back to the tax revenue sharing. If they want to expand too much, it's going to be like traffic issues and you're going to get people out with the pitchforks, rightly or wrongly so. They're like, don't know how their expansion helps them if they don't actually work at that company, and Trader Joe's, which everybody wants, right? You know what I mean? So honestly, it's a lot. I think that, and that's not necessarily a budget thing that we need to do. It's just how do we cross-pollinate the communication of all of the boards and commissions in line with the POCD? So we're not just fighting for like, I want open space.
Yes.
If it's not open space, I don't know. You know what I mean? It's gotta be, same thing with the EDC. Like I said, I love my community because of the decades of work of open space here, right? So I will come out and be vocal about, hey, that area should continue to be green and we should expand it over there. We need to work more synergistically across boards. So if there's a way to do that, I think that is something that we really should and could be doing for the town.
I know staff has been talking about having these Pride Commission meetings more frequently. Are there ways that could better utilize this time to accomplish some of what you're just talking about? How do you see, your monthly meetings better utilizing your time to achieve some of those goals?
The meetings to me they're less working meetings and more reporting meetings,
Mhm.
right? And so we do have some very robust conversations but we also don't have a lot of authority. Really, we're here in an advisory capacity
course.
with the town council. We don't really approve very much except for tax incentive area TIFs, right?
Right.
And what's the other one? that we
Yeah.
did last last week.
The Economic Assistance Fund.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, the economic assistance fund. See, staff's great. So it's tough when our function is grease. Like, we're not the machinery.
Yeah, yeah.
We're the grease. We're supposed to be lubricating these things. And so we're not really empowered to do some of the things that you're talking about. At least I don't see us as having that role.
Yeah, I think to Robert's point, I think it would be beneficial if like the town council like maybe communicated on a more regular basis with us, so that
Yeah.
way, like, maybe during the meetings, like, we could say like, there's a couple projects or something, and we could like review them and say like, do we think this is good? Do we think this is bad? Are there anything, like any recommendation to apply for TIF funding? Do they apply for EAF funding? And we could just send that back along. So that way it's a, like you said, more synergistic role. And I think that would probably make a little bit more sense. And that would probably strengthen our advisory capabilities. So.
Yeah, we're like a muscle they're not using.
Yeah.
If they would just.
Yeah, we're like over here.
Yeah.
And we're just like, hey, you can use us.
We're Greece, we're a muscle, then I.
Yeah.
And I don't really have any clear thoughts about it. I just haven't been here that long. I mean, obviously the synergy makes good sense. I mean, I don't know, what it is that we would like to see. Say, given any area, say Route 1, down past town hall, is there some vision for that? Or is that just, let's see what happens when people apply for permits and stuff? I have an answer to that question.
Right, so part of your vision is in your P O C D. So part of that vision is laid out there. Part of it is in your zoning and what you allow and don't allow. But there are, there's the zoning is a menu, but one of the roles that you all play is proactively getting out there, finding the business owners who would have interest in selecting the menu items that the town most wants to see in these areas. So I see that as being a really important role in achieving the town's vision, because the regulatory end of things is just one piece. You make it allowable, but you gotta find the right people, the right interests, and the right connections to take advantage of it. So I want to take about 45 minutes of your time, so we have a few minutes left. Wanted to talk a bit about, and this, we haven't really gotten here, but sort of piggybacking off what you were talking about earlier, with just things that happen in the community, and there's a lot of misunderstanding, or people come to you with a concern about a particular project. But we know that, and this is not unique to Groton in any respect, that a lot of misinformation gets circulated about a particular development project or a particular business or what have you. How have you seen the spread of misinformation being a challenge for your work and the goals that you have as a body? And do you have any thoughts on how staff, how other commissions could better address misinformation? And let's start with, like, has that been a problem in your work?
The only issue that I've ever seen is that like my father-in-law or someone else, like I say I'm on the ECD or something, and I have no idea what that means.
Okay.
They just like kind of speculate what it means, and I'm like, no, you're kind of off. Like they'll so like they think I'm like I'm on a kind of an advisory role, and they're like think I'm doing like legislation. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Please don't, like, I'm not approving tax codes. I'm not doing anything like that. Effective taxes, that's not how this works. That's the only thing that I've seen so far.
Okay.
I haven't. Can't speak to the issue.
Yeah, right. It's more ignorance than.
Yeah.
misinformation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when
Not
I,
in a negative.
Yeah, it's just like you say,
Yeah.
Economic Development Commission, they're just like, I don't know.
so I do have an example. So the data center issue.
Yes.
Okay, so the EDC, and I got involved in the EDC right at the tail end of that.
Okay.
I think the EDC was tasked with presenting. They held a open house at the community center and at Thrive 55 and had some of the the players present the idea to the community.
Uh,
That got conflated to the EDC was presenting data centers to rip apart the woods and like, and that long-term damage is now why we kind of get ghosted,
Okay.
right? So that's hard to unravel. And there was a lot of discussion where even our chair at the time was like, we're not advocating for it. We were asked to open the door and bring the parties together to share with the community. And, you know, when people don't want to hear the facts, then it becomes associated that the EDC wanted to put a data center here.
Yeah.
And I do believe that's sort of why we get the stink eye a little bit still. And it's just not true. We all have diversity of opinion on economic development throughout town. We're not, you know, even back then, we weren't advocating for or against the data centers, stuff like that. So, but when you start to get into economic development, obviously, groups of active citizens have passions,
Yes.
right? And it's very difficult to hold the center where you just have, you know, free communication of ideas. And that's where the EDC gets kind of this problem is something we have to navigate. Now, since then, we really haven't had anything, you know, controversial like that to present. But on the same token, we haven't been very effective in a lot of the things we wanted to do. So yeah, again, it gets back down to, I just think the general perception of economic development in the community, we need to sort of do a PR campaign, right? It's about sustainability of jobs and people and, you know, planes, trains and buses running on time. It's all the unsexy things, but it's important. It's just as important as, you know, having clean air and places. We don't want to be like a city on a hill where nobody can appreciate these things, right? You want people to have access to enjoy the parks and people to have income to spend it in the, you know, so anyway,
Yeah.
but that's very complicated story to put out. And I don't know that a volunteer board can lift that all on its own.
Right.
We have great
And that's
staff
again,
that does it,
We
yeah.
actively look at staff, or, you know, if you come to staff and say, hey, we need to get this message out. One of the things that we've been working on as part of this project is working with Groton TV to do a series of short videos on just civics 101, like basically like where are decisions made, what are the political divisions in the town, what are all the boards and commissions, like so talking about the PCC, the Conservation Commission, and you've got that as a resource. You know, it's not like they have infinite capacity either. But if there's ever or you want to get out to the community, we found that Sean and his team are really open to helping with that. Other staff can as well.
I just want to bring up a topic that is rolling around the back of my head, and it may be a non-issue, but do we have very much of a dialogue with public safety in terms of the business community and issues of public safety that come up? I mean, the only reason it was in my head is because there was a little blurb about somebody down on Water Street who had fired a gun.
Oh.
And they had gotten this guy, whoever had fired this gun. And I said to my wife, this is the first time I've ever read about a gun being fired in this town.
Yeah.
And so, and then it made me wonder, because sometimes, of course, retail outlets have like kid problems or other kinds of things that are kind of quasi-public safety problems, kids hanging out, skateboarders, all kinds of things like that.
Yeah, they should go to work at the factory.
They are 13 years.
But
old.
that's a good, I mean, there is a public safety committee, like there's a committee that does public safety, right?
Oh, I don't know. Is there a public safety committee?
It's a public safety committee, but at the staff level, we do work with them.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So the last questions I wanted to ask are about the future of this board or commission. You know, we mentioned how you all were recruited. You know, this is a notorious issue again across the country. It's more and more difficult to get people to volunteer their time to serve on municipal boards and commissions. What
do you think are some ways, I mean, I think, Conservation Commission, you bring up a great example. Not only do they have a robust membership, they have sort of a circle of influence and people that they're connected with, support what they do. And that also serves as sort of a bench for people moving into seats on the Conservation Commission. I wanted to end with, do you have any thoughts on how staff can help you do something similar and grow your base and better reach out to potential members and people who could.
Succession planning, is that what you're talking?
Succession planning, precisely. That was actually the word I had in my notes, but I didn't use it.
I mean, I've been on this board, what, a year and a half? I haven't seen a single public participant. So it's tough to.
Yeah.
To pull from that. So it's action, right? And, I don't know if there was some prestige associated with it or if there was some kind of other benefit that you could. Yeah, I could get business cards. Yeah, I got business cards, right? Yeah. Or
T-shirts,
Yeah.
hats, swag.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought I had an answer when I started and in the middle, I don't. It's a tough thing to encourage people to do. Yeah, I don't know.
One of the things that I thought about, in terms of the strength and the durability of the commission is that there are, and I don't know who these people are other than Adam, and I know him, but who owns Swift. But there are some very successful business people in this community. And I don't know who they are. I've never met them. I don't know what their thoughts are about this community. But they are people that other business people look at. And I know that for sure, right? So I don't know how we, what would be an appropriate way to try to tap into those. But they're not going anywhere. They're vested in this community big time. You look at Swift, and JNR is the one that just opened up the off the hook fish place.
Oh,
So they've got a place on the Stonington side, now they've got a place on this side.
Yeah.
The same guy who owns Villa, or the Italian restaurant across the street from the
taco place. Yeah.
no, I was talking about Main Street in Mystic,
Oh.
Yeah, he owns, the taqueria,
Yeah.
Jealous Monk.
Right.
The
So I know there are a handful of business people, which is true in many communities, that other business people know. Really, that's a lot in the community. I don't know who those people.
So, I mean, maybe we flex the chamber relationships. If
Right.
we had a liaison to the chamber or vice versa, if we had a chamber liaison sitting here.
Yeah.
Bruce is a busy guy, so probably not him, but maybe somebody works or
Oh,
volunteers.
they have standing, we still have the standing liaison chambers, right? So they're, I can keep calling them and telling them to come.
Yeah, just find out like what their
Yeah.
favorite food is and
Yeah, yeah.
have a plate of it out. Right?
Because they do have a lot, Bruce has a ton.
Almost more than we do, certainly.
So the good part is, I guess if there's let's say the town wants to pass an ordinance that's very detrimental to businesses, they will rally and call us and we will be able to facilitate quickly that's, it's, but other than emergency type things, I think we had the plastic bag issue and things earlier, but we don't, yeah, it's a challenge to figure out, how we add value in that space.
Yeah, yeah.
So if the town got us memberships at the committee members, committee persons memberships to the chambers or sponsored us to go to some events or something like that, you might be able to get some more people to come because they would be
That's a really good point.
interacting with all the groups and sort of, because showing faces is what you have to do.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do if you're volunteering and you're spending money, not on behalf of your own business, right? If you're doing it on behalf of the town.
Right.
And I'm sure both chambers would be open to you know, here's 3 tickets to go to this
Yeah.
event or whatever for the town for us to show up. That's something that we could maybe do.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be on a board where we would give joint membership to boards and commissions. There'd be a single fee and then
Mhm.
you had access to, you know, even if that's not something the chambers offer, it's worth going to say, hey, consider this.
Yeah.
I don't know if the town has much for this, but I would think that.
We do.
Okay, there you go.
If there are events that you can go to. Yeah.
And I believe
You're
that,
gonna say-
I believe that's already actually on the table.
To the Derby?
Yeah,
A lot of-
I think that's been done.
Okay, great.
But maybe some of that is just institutional knowledge with,
Yeah.
you know, newer people here, you didn't know that. So if there
Yeah.
are things, chamber events, other things that you want to participate in, let us know, we'll sign you up. We'll take care of it.
Thank you. Yeah, and that kind of goes back to not only is that helpful for recruitment, but hopefully it'll keep you all interested in staying, add value to your participation.
Right, make it vibrant.
But I think the most important thing is to connect with the community why economic development is important
Yeah.
to the residents of the town.
Yeah.
Right? And they need to be a stakeholder in that. That's why the Conservation Commission, it's easy to see how conservation serves your quality of life.
Yeah.
It's straightforward. It's a little more esoteric when you're like, well, your tax base and people are like, eh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but that's a complicated issue. I gave my, you know, obviously money and stakeholder and the revenue sharing of the sales tax is a low hanging fruit in that area, but it's more complicated than that, right? And so that's why I go to creating better relationships across boards and commissions, mobilize everybody's agendas to you know, do what the POCD says, right? So.
Yeah, so I think, you know, some of the key takeaways from today is that exactly that continue to find opportunities for cross-pollination across boards and commissions, strengthen that relationship with the chambers, with town council. I think partnering with staff to figure out some community conversations around some of these key issues, or even, you know, getting your YouTube videos out. There are a lot of resources you have to start expanding that conversation with the community. Well, thank you. I didn't want to take up a lot more of your time this evening. I really appreciate you taking the time out of this meeting to have this talk. I hope it was helpful.
Yeah.
And again, we're hoping to have, we will be having similar conversations with PCC and the Conservation Commission, and then bring all 3 back together again so we can continue to find ways to together.
Thank you very much.
No, thank all of you very much. You know, we're trying to do everything we can to better engage with the community. Really appreciate all the hard work every day,
Absolutely.
stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Hey, old business, business outreach, calendar and communications around.
So Clayton's update this month has a couple of repeats. He's doing a good job. If we could up it to 5, you know, then that'll help me a little bit, get me a little more motivated. And if we could have them in advance. So I'd like to start naming and shaming people who don't go.
Sorry, what do you mean in advance?
Like when I get to this meeting, I should know who I'm gonna see before I show up next meeting. Like when
Yeah.
I leave
Oh.
tonight, I should
Mhm.
know. who
For
I'm-
June, yeah. And that totally makes sense. And I think with June, because I mean, we'd be down to do 5, but no, a lot of people aren't doing 3. So I don't know.
If you aim for the, you know, you gotta aim high to hit the middle, right? Like, yeah.
Well, we
Like an email after a day or 2 after this meeting with those names, like just an email, hey, Bob, bum, 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 and then, yeah, then you can be
Okay,
like,
you got, people aren't checking in maybe on the Google spreadsheet. Everybody know what Google spreadsheet I'm talking about?
I have not been checking it.
those business wise, it's confusing, like I've got links,
Well,
all the.
and one thing we can do too is, and we mentioned this and like wanted to bring it up tonight as well, if you just get the information to us in whatever format works the best for you, if it's an email or you want to tell us at night, we can enter it. But
Okay.
it does help us to have it all in one place because we're trying to build a database of like,
Yeah, sure.
we know this person's around at this time.
Right.
So you can have this on your phone and even do it like while you're there. So you don't even have to take notes or remember after, or if this is just not your thing, just email us and
Okay.
use, use those categories, the contact name, info, best times to connect, and useful notes. Like you've mentioned, like, oh, I learned there's an event space. Like, new.
I haven't put anything, other than reporting back at our meeting, I'll do better than that. But yeah.
No,
I think that's all you've been doing great. You're doing
Yeah,
better
you're
than anybody
great.
else. Yeah.
No, I'm just mentioning your example of you found that there's like event space people could use. That's what we're thinking for useful notes, like just stuff that you didn't even know till you got there that could be cool to like draw on as we learn more about the businesses. And then for June, we didn't put those in and we put a little note on the side that I was gonna say this evening. Because we're so kind of backed up on previous months, we're gonna use June to try to tackle all of from March to now, if we haven't, or just at least try to knock some of them out. So they're at 5,
Okay.
20, whatever you want. And then with July, I hear you, we'll make sure that that night it's ready.
Well, we're off for the summer. We're off for August.
Yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, sorry, that's right. So July and August is about going back and getting all of those as well, unless,
Is this our last meeting before the summer?
yeah, before,
Yeah.
it is. So, and we can.
We don't meet till September.
Correct. So we can communicate though with those months and remind you and say there's new people or those kinds of things.
Just like an email.
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Definitely. Okay, awesome. And which item are we on? Old business?
Business outreaching
Okay.
calendar.
Okay, so that was basically it for that, and we'll jump into, because we do have the 2 months off, we have an outline of the event for October, and we want to get your thumbs up on that so we can spend the summer working on it.
Okay.
We can dive into that for the later item as well.
Okay. Any other business outreach, calendar communications? I just touched on it before I went up, through CETUS, met with Dan O'Keefe up in Hartford. He's doing a great job, really great guy. I think it's fantastic. I think he's been in office, that position, for a year. And yeah, but I did razz him on the tax situation, which I feel passionately about. And I think the
Yeah.
town council has asked us to sort of discuss that aspect. And I think it's important. I think we should maybe talk a little bit about what is it? So the issue is a lot of other states allow sales tax that's generated in a community with high tourism to stay in that community. So you get, like, if it's 6% sales tax, you get 1% of that sales tax revenue gets given back to the town council to spend. Usually it's like in, dealing with traffic, or they could go into the
Improvements.
Yeah, basically building the infrastructure.
Negative impacts from said economic development, yeah.
parking lots. It's hard to sell, like everyone's got beautiful homes, like, why do I want more people? Like, you know what I mean? You have to create a buy-in. So
Yeah.
it's not only tax revenue, but that's the drum I can beat, and other states do it, and I don't know why Mystic.
Is it like state legislatures that are pushing back?
Yeah, you need.
Want to lose the tax, like getting, they don't want to give up the revenue.
They love spending.
We're at the listening tour that you mentioned with Anthony's staff. I remember you bringing that up, and the response was basically like, as staff, we can do absolutely nothing. It's about your legislators.
Yeah.
All the business owners are like, we've heard that for years. Nothing moves the needle. So I think kind of the conclusion of that meeting was an actual like organized, like,
We need to keep rattling the cage. Anthony is, he's doing a great job as well marketing, but I'm the jerk.
Ned Lamont
Like,
just-
we do, I'm like, here's what you can do.
Well, he just posted that Connecticut, I think this past year had a surplus, and I was just like, well, if you had a surplus.
Yeah. right?
Shave a little off top, that's totally.
Because we have billions and billions.
No
of
much.
debt. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody likes to set a precedent.
Next year, there won't be a surplus probably.
No.
Who knows, yeah.
No.
1 year.
Or the year after. Or
Yeah.
2 years.
We come there with a handout this year, we'll be there with a handout next year.
They talked as well about, okay, even if you don't give it to us and you want to ensure you're in charge of it, and it stays in infrastructure, can there just be a set aside, you know? So it's like, because the whole point is, please stop marketing to have more people
Right.
come here if we can, we're at max capacity with infrastructure.
Well, and those businesses can expand because residents don't want it, right? And you get adversarial. So
Supposed to get the parking lot.
Yeah.
see, it's not even, the revenue stuff is legislation stuff, but literally, we need things that we can tell residents why economic development and business expanding is in their interest. So it's not just money. What else is it?
Yeah.
What else how else are they?
Well, you hit it on the head. Everybody wants more businesses, just not near them.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
part of the education piece too. It's tough.
Yeah.
Because, Trader Joe's, you need a lot more households.
yeah.
Right. Everyone wants more money.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, moving on. The Groton Business Event?
Okay, so I'm gonna just pass this around. We don't want to go too, we usually try to keep it under an hour, so I appreciate you still being here for an hour or at an hour now, but
I tell my wife, I think our.
Yeah, you'll all get overtime, don't worry.
we don't want to go too over. But this, you all saw this in the packet, but basically this is a high level outline that we put together just essentially for, if you remember earlier this year, we said, we want to do an event, but we want to start early. So it's not last minute and we're saying, oh gosh, what should we do? So we were thinking with this one that it would basically be a breakfast, thank you breakfast for businesses, but a networking event. Cause we talk a lot about how busy everyone is and, why would they go? It's one more meeting. What's in it for them? So it is also what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Are we really well known and it's worth people to go, or we just start trying to build something to then show the value of attending an event like this? So we're kind of in that sweet spot where you have to start somewhere. And just at a very high level, we don't need to get into too much detail today. We just want a general thumbs up so that we can start working on it as staff. We are going to do a morning breakfast, also a hot breakfast. So it's not just kind of your basic muffins, which food always helps. Of course, at a local venue, which we're happy to take a lot of recommendations from you. I think we put a few on there. And then a big piece of this will be, of course, staff will put this together and we'll fund it, but we need at least a quorum to make sure it's worth it. Because what we don't want to have happen is do all this work and then like one EDC member shows up. We're going to build the event around you and having you working with businesses. So we want to get those businesses to you. So you'll see an email come out with potential dates. We're looking at October 7th right now. And so once we kind of get that form or, responses from you, then we'll start planning it. And we want to date that works for everybody. So then at a high level, welcome and check in. And then we'd have some opening remarks that can be our chair, it can be staff, it can be, we can come up with the best combination there, welcoming message, brief update on Groton's economy, local achievements, ongoing projects. Recognition as well. We wanted to highlight some standout small businesses. Last year, the event we almost had, SIFT was going to speak as an educational opportunity for other businesses. This one's a little different, but something like that where we're highlighting feature businesses and that are doing a great job and are great leaders. Then we would move into networking and conversations, and we'd love to be able to have EDC members stationed at different areas so folks can talk, challenge people to meet at least one new business owner or reach out to different folks there they might not know. And then, of course, this is a huge opportunity to hand out our own materials and really get different opportunities out there, as well as where to find information. Because from this and some of our other efforts, our team's doing a lot of work to try to bridge the gap between process and people and kind of build that understanding so people know where to plug in, how things affect them. Then we would move into closing remarks and a call to action. So, join us in this way. We'll see you at this next thing. And then, of course, we'll also have a lot of promotion behind it. We would make the September assignments door to door just for you to get the word out. And then if we have it sooner, we can even get you that over the summer. And then also some follow-up. We're working to close the loop on a lot of these events. So, we have community conversations, people give feedback, what happens with it. So we'll have some follow-up pieces as well, like a thank you email, inviting them to our next event, or excuse me, next opportunity. So that's a very high level. So we'd love any ideas, especially on location or anything else you'd like. And then as our final piece, if there's a general thumbs up, we'll send out those dates and then get started.
You need us to vote?
No, it's not an official vote.
Just one question, and maybe try too much, but is there some engagement, like non-business owners, like,
Yeah.
you know, just show up and communicate with business owners? Like I don't know how you do that, but
Yeah.
we just tail end of the conversation we just had. It's
I guess, what would kind of the opportunity for them, like,
to meet with
yeah,
other business, meet with the, you know, these are the people in your neighborhood, right? This is your dry cleaner and your, you know, other than the large employers and things like that, it's a thank you to the business community meets the, I don't know.
that's a big question. We're thinking, I don't think it, I mean, maybe 60. I mean, that'd be ideal, but we also just have no idea if people will show up. So I think that would probably be the max. Yeah,
So like 60? Is that what you
I
said?
think so. Yeah.
So what are we're talking about a hotel then?
Well, we were thinking, I doubt it will be 60. That's like shooting for the stars, but we were thinking
Five of
like, yeah, exactly. I challenge you to get me 60. We'll say 30 low end.
Okay.
But something like Park 4 or like
Oh, sure.
Groton has the nice.
Oh, yeah, downstairs, yeah, those.
Yeah, so something like that.
I forgot.
Oh, yeah.
The owner's name,
Yeah.
he said he was willing to open the doors for any meeting.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great location.
Sure. Open in the morning.
Yeah.
Sure is in the kitchen though.
Yeah.
That's a great point, because then it's not interrupting with business.
So he doesn't have a kitchen, so,
Yeah,
but.
but it can be catered.
Yeah, it's like if we get a caterer, then it's just setting up tables.
Okay, that's a great idea.
Yep, sounds good.
Great.
Last question, I swear, the nominations for who you're actually gonna thank, like, how's that selection? Something that you want us to do, or is that?
Yeah.
something You guys are gonna do?
No, that would be wonderful if you did, because that was one thing we were gonna try to wrap our brains around, like, what's the pool? How are we picking who we're
And-
speaking to? So suggestions from you would be fantastic. And maybe, I don't know, do you have any ideas around that, such as categories of types of businesses, or just like, I think in my mind, it has to do with their role in the community, as far as they're a great business, maybe they have experience that they share, or a good, role model for other businesses, but
Yeah, so like United Way, the Little League, somebody else might have like some ideas to, who's always contributing or.
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So Joe, Joe's a good connection for something like that.
I want to be a little bit careful.
Mhm.
I want to be a little bit careful because you're picking winners, right? You're picking people. It's going to cause other people to go, well.
Why didn't I get?
Right. Right, and you're absolutely right, which is why we're not doing an actual like award. It's more just like
I mean,
mentioning some partners.
Oh, I see what you're saying, like.
Yeah, there has to be criteria.
Isn't the best hairdresser in town, but you can't say that, or you could say.
even if you can't, like, so-and-so gave, I don't know, $1,000 to the United Way. But, Fred over here, he didn't get the United Way, but he gave to his favorite church. We just didn't know about
Right.
Right, without set criteria, people could complain, is basically.
it. And actually, I do need to go by 6:45.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, if this works in general, thumbs up from everyone to kind of get started on that.
Favorite quorum if Bill leaves.
No, I
No?
don't think we do.
Anything else quorum wise we needed?
No, everything else is just informational.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then
Okay.
6:45
Yeah.
here, yeah, you'll be fine, so.
Sure.
Actually,
When you're bored.
wait, we do, sorry, it's
You
3.
can leave, yeah. You can leave.
Fine.
No, and that.
It's like, I want to wait a couple days. Everybody will leave.
Actually, I think we do, because it's us. Oh, no, it's 7. That's right. Okay, but anyway, there's no voting. It's mostly just this. We're looking at that week of the 6th in October, so we'll send out.
Okay.
It's most likely gonna be that Tuesday.
Is there any way that you could do like while business is there, they could schedule meetings or like
Idea.
conversations, like town employees or us in the EDC?
Yeah.
So as they walk in, say like, you have these meeting slots open, like feel free to. Up or something.
That's a great idea. I love that.
that way, like, have like very specific questions that might not be on the schedule, they can ask.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Okay, great.
Cool.
You need to go to dinner?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm better.
great. Cool. Thank you for coming. Yeah. Wow.
Do something.
Gosh,
Something right once in a while.
that's awesome.
Good. Go to one of the many fine restaurants here.
I think I will do one of those. Thank you very much.
All right, I'll just, do you want me
All
to
right,
keep
staff
going
report.
so
Yep.
that we get
Yep.
everybody out of here quickly? Excess properties, just quick update, Pleasant Valley had a public hearing this week on Tuesday as a second public hearing, and then an additional meeting for questions and answers. We're at the preferred project concept and development team right now. And then if that were to move ahead, we'd move into negotiations with the preferred development team. And at this point, it's just phase, so there's not a lot of final details. That's what comes next. So obviously it hasn't been designed. We don't have certain pieces ironed out yet. It's just the approval of the concept and picking a team to then work through that concept with. Foreign trade zone, we gave you an update last month about that we were able to work with the New London Foreign Trade Zone Commission to lower fees, which we're really excited about. Our team also went to the National Association of Government Communicators conference in Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago, again, really focusing on engagement efforts and just challenges within government, especially keeping up with misinformation and how to build those relationships and keep clear information out there. The Economic Assistance Fund application you approved and endorsed goes to Town Council on June 24th, and then it has to go a second time to be finalized, which will be July. A fun item is we're working with the new owner of Groton Shopper Mart, Sigmund Companies, on a mural project that they're, and we've posted the call for artists on our town page, and it'll be on all of our socials. So if you know artists in the area, please let them know. That application closes July 1st. And then Lauren also sent out a reminder about the new surveillance and cameras that are in here in the hall and when they're recording. So read that email because they're on pretty much from 5 o'clock on. So it doesn't really matter if the Zoom is recording, they're just on in general. There's different time frames for each one, but just keep that in mind.
On that note, I'd just like to say I very much appreciate the town council and all their hard work on our behalf,
That's a great
and
job, yeah, they're
cheerleaders are.
And that is from our HR department. So if you have questions, please, we can forward those to them.
Okay.
And then that's everything as fast as I can go.
Thank you so much. Liaison report.
Great. Well, lots of things. Try and sift through these real quick. I mean, today we had which I didn't even put on here. We had an event day at the base commemorating the Midway, Battle of Midway, which of course was the battle that really turned the tides of World War II. Started on the 4th, ran through the 7th of June. We had a large tabletop exercise, which was a little right up here. It was actually in the paper. Talking about it, it was a very good success. We had a lot of different community leaders from Groton and New London and the state and other places. So it was a very good event. Moving right along, we had the ribbon cutting for the water taxi dock there beside the Nautilus. And you can see all the visual there that actually cut the ribbon that had various parts in that project. So we're happy about that. It's going to be able to just be another reason for people to go to the museum, and another way for people to get to the museum. So we're excited about that. Another couple little pictures we had from our put on here from our Gold Star Remembrance Flag Garden dedication ceremony, which we have every year, which is always touching, to put it mildly. So that's always a nice event that we do. We had several of our sailors down at Fleet Week in New York, which was always interesting. And I think I mentioned this before briefly, the state of Connecticut gift the sub base $7,761,000. They're giving us, that's been accepted by the Navy, so it's going to move forward. We just have to figure out now the construction aspects of it, but we are getting the money to replace the port services, floating piers, and to reconstruct our waterfront boat ramp, both are actually in really bad condition. And this will really help our smaller boats and be able to, have a good, safe place to keep them, to load them, obviously to put them in the water. That's only for us, but we can respond to different events in the river too. So it's going to be really great to have those two facilities rebuilt. And on the last page, you talked a little bit about this last month, and I didn't want to get into it too much because it wasn't, I don't know how public it was, but I know they just had a meeting and talked about it with the town managers and whatnot. So I figure it's pretty public now. But the Nautilus sign there by 95 is going to get refurbished. And I've got pictures here of actually the original sign, which was put in 1907. And actually that sign is actually still on subbase. It's turned into a little trailer. It's been shortened the last quarter of it or so. It was shortened. It kind of looks the same way. It's not quite as long now. And we use it for parades and things, but that's just interesting piece of history that's actually still around. But then in 2004, of course, they made the one that's the replica of the Nautilus. The first one was of a Lafayette class boat. So the one that's there now, of course, was put in 2004. It's a replica of the Nautilus. And it is also getting to be now in not the greatest condition. It's been there for quite a while. So the Subforce Museum and Library Association is kind of spearheading a project to revamp that whole site, to put, my understanding that there's going to be like another coating or another layer put over the existing submarine. It'll kind of encapsulate it and make it look all nice and new. And of course, there's going to be, as you can see in the picture, a wall around it and actually a LED type sign is the plan. So they're going through now, raising funds and getting all the approvals, the state and everything else. So that'll be nice to see that happen. It's obviously very eye-catching piece here in southeastern Connecticut. And the sign will be nice. We'll be able to welcome back, subs from deployment or, announce really any big events that are going on or anything. The museum will have control of that sign. So. Go ahead.
We had discussed a meeting on the,
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. So on July 16th, which is a Wednesday, in the morning, the COG is going to have their meeting at the base in the museum. It was originally going to be in the galley, but because it has to be public accessible, so we have to do it in the museum now upstairs in the classroom. But they have a meeting, starts at 8:30 and goes to 9:30. And the thought was, that your commission could come as well. The captain will give a 10 or 15-minute talk at the beginning, talking a little about what's going on with the sub base. Then the COG will have their meeting, they usually do, which is interesting. They talk about different things. And then after that, usually their meeting goes about an hour. It might go a little over because of the captain's talking and whatnot, but so probably around 9:30 or so, we'll have some tours of the base available for anybody that wants to go on them. So we'd love to have you come to that. We're finalizing it now. It looks like that's what's going to happen. It's not 100% final, but probably 95. So I'll let staff know as we get closer to that, but certainly welcome to come. I think probably easier for everybody rather than have a separate one just for this relatively small group. So
Sure.
that'd be a great idea. If we can coordinate that and let the commissioners know we get a quorum and have a special meeting at that time.
I mean, it's not even really going to be a meeting because you're just coming. It's a COG meeting. You would be kind of like as guests. So I don't even know if you need a quorum.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I mean, but even, if you have a quorum, then it is a meeting, I guess.
Well, and there's certain rules for events too, like if
Yeah.
everyone went to a chamber event, it's not. So we'll look into it, but I think we should be.
Yeah, but that's good. We'll probably have some breakfast groups there and things like that. So it'll be a nice little event. And of course, all the mayors or town managers from all the different towns around here come. So always chat with them afterwards too. So should be interesting. But yeah, we'd love to have you.
Thank you very much.
Great.
Right. Anybody got anything else?
Yes, I had a business owner contact me about, she was a previous grant recipient. And I know that we were running out of money.
Yeah.
She had used 1,500 for, what to get some stuff. And then she had asked, hey, is there anything else? So I don't know where we are.
I
Didn't know if we needed to.
Yeah. I think we had mentioned a little while ago that we were getting very close, so like not to recruit, but if you've been contacted, I believe we are spent, like right now we're showing negative, which means waiting for people to kind of race in with their invoices, so I'll double check with Lauren, but I believe it's closed.
So that's it.
Which business was it?
Magella, she's a bookkeeping service.
Okay.
It's not spelled Magellan, but I think you pronounce it Magellan.
Okay, I remember seeing her
Yeah.
previous application because we helped her with like software and things.
Yeah, she was considering hiring and needed another laptop to bring somebody in. So that's
Okay.
what she was asking about.
Okay, I'll check with Lauren and let you know.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's awesome.
One other thing I just wanted to add that I forgot. We're hoping as part of that tour, we have a submarine tour. So you'll get on one of our submarines. That's of course dependent on how things are going and make sure we have subs available and all that, but we're trying to do that. Anybody that comes on base now, we just learned about this. You have to have a driver's license and you have to have the little gold star. Has to be a new
Sure. Real ID.
Real ID. Yeah,
Yeah.
we just found that out today. That's a new thing. So I guess they give live driver's license to everybody.
It's the default.
That proves that
You
you're
had to
a
tell them that you don't want it, so I think they're all standard, like, yeah, mine's.
I mean, I'm sure some people don't have it yet, but it proves that you're a citizen, that you know, you're a citizen of the country. So that's why we need that.
Sure, sure.
Um,
Everybody asking for papers now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got a lot going on at the EDC meeting here.
Backslide.
Great.
Great opportunity to get on one of the submarines if you haven't ever been on one of the new Virginia class submarines. So
Mhm.
those are always fun tours. It'd probably be done around noon or so.
When I was, I must have been a freshman in college, there was some action. Our company was, we did maintenance for Zenith laptops. And I guess a petty officer on one of the ships had come in and his laptop needed a floppy drive replaced and he couldn't take it off. So I got to go in and. Very cool. Right,
That
of course,
is
it
very
was back in the day, like I was just swapping out a floppy, but it was like, oh, you're like Matthew Broderick from Wargate. So yeah, going on a sub would be very fun.
You can get on one of the new Virginia class. There's all touch screens. That's really pretty cool. Fly by wire, flow by water, sink by wire. It's all like really high tech, really cool. So that's all.
Thank you.
Cool.
And George will be happy about the submarine because he said it was faded. So I'm glad you put that in there for him. I think that's it. Thank you so
All right,
much.
thanks. Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, everyone.
Perfect.
Appreciate it. You guys.
Bye. Thank you so much.